sometimes there's people out there that do stuff that you never hear about, at least not in the masses. I mean, I feel like there's probably been multiple world catastrophes that have been ended by those hidden warriors. And right now I'm getting to sit down with a hidden warrior with the tattoo industry, Sean Brown. Sean, you're a tattoo artist. You've been involved in manufacturing and supplies, and you've also been protecting the tattoo industry on many levels. And really honored to get to interview, get to hang out and learn about your world and what you've done for us, and continue to help share your message, and then be a part of the future of it as well. So, Sean, I'd love to kind of start off by painting a little picture about you. Kind of give us some history.
No, you don't want me to paint. I'm a tattoo artist, not
Okay.
a painter. But honestly, thank you for that introduction. That's awesome. Do you want to know some history of where I come from, or what do you
Where
look
do you
for?
start? I mean, you came from.
Yeah, I've been tattooing since '99. Started when I was still in the military. Did reserve and active duty time. And the military allows you to have a lot of practice skin, on the 1st and the 15th. So started there in a small town in southern New Mexico, Las Cruces. We were the second tattoo shop in town, and from there I moved on to Dallas to learn the tattooing trade from people that had been in it longer and a little bit more cred, to build my repertoire. But from there, more military time, and then it was around 2008, I started getting into restorative tattooing for breast cancer patients.
Cool.
Took kind of some of my medical background and my tattooing and tried to combine them, and worked with a plastic surgeon in Austin, Texas, and done that pretty much since. That's pretty much been my specialty, I guess, if you'd call it anything.
Yeah.
So, and then started a supply company in 2012 in Austin, and from there came on and started working for the Eternal team as well, and shortly thereafter became the general manager here at Eternal.
Wow.
Did that for a couple of years, and now I'm specializing in compliance and the regulatory side, as well as the safety for Nexus brands.
Yeah, that's a big shoes to fill, big hat to wear, big title.
It's a lot to do.
A lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
We were talking how once you can start talking about something, I mean, you're touching on like 5 different topics simultaneously, where you've got 5 arms working, and basically putting out fires while you're lighting some simultaneously. And speaking of, I mean, you've done some things in the history of your career that have been very protective of of our industry. You've protected us from things that could be a lot worse right now, and I'd love to maybe dig into a little bit of them with whatever you're willing to share. And kind of let people know what you've been able to do for us.
Yeah, I've always been a quote unquote an advocate, I guess we could say, for tattooing. It's an industry and a trade that I feel that I owe everything that I have to and back, and I want to see it grow, and I also want to see it last. As we've discussed a few times, I believe it's the oldest form of cosmetic out there.
Yep.
And it's back when we started tattooing, it was a little different. Obviously, it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it was an honor to become a tattoo artist. It was an honor to make it through an apprenticeship and then actually make it into a profession where it supported you.
Yeah.
And I felt we got to give back, and started seeing things happen in the industry as well as in the regulatory side and the legislative side, that I felt that someone needed to speak up. And joined the CTS, the Coalition Tattoo Safety, and that was back when most ink manufacturers were part of it, and became the treasurer there. And shortly thereafter, we all went and we lobbied Congress when we heard about a bill that had been in Senate, and a bill that also was in the House over cosmetic reform.
Okay.
And we felt that we needed to have some kind of voice there. And knowing we weren't speaking for the entire industry, we figured something was better than nothing.
Sure.
So we lobbied, and we were successful at getting some things changed, which is nice to help protect us as an industry. And at the same time, things were happening in Europe, right? So, and at that time, it wasn't as crazy as it is now. But that lobbying was a good effort, and figured why not just keep it going, you know, and let them know that we're still out here, that tattoo artists aren't going anywhere.
No, talking about where we come from and the traditions of tattooing, and in our history, which is very colorful, you know, tattoo artists weren't the most cooperative, communicative, and you know, didn't really come together a lot, which is changing a lot. You know, it's definitely changing nowadays, but you know, it's very commendable that you were willing to step up, even though there wasn't a lot of support. You know, even though there wasn't a lot of like, yeah, we want to lobby Congress too, but you still took the initiative and did it, and it's taught you a lot of invaluable skills that I think the tattoo industry will really appreciate you being able to utilize, especially as we could see our future aligning with Europe. And like you said, there was some stuff going on in Europe. It wasn't as crazy as it is now. I mean, can you talk to how crazy it is now?
Yeah, it's I'll quote. There's a gentleman over there, Dr. Jorgen Syrup, who last year paraphrased it as a monstrosity.
Yeah.
Okay, and the new REACH law is a monstrosity. It's hard to understand. It's extremely long. It regulates over 4,000 substances, and now this year it bans blue and green from us using it. Only in the tattoo industry, nothing else, right? Yeah. And not only does it have 4,000 plus substances, when you start reading it, it goes into other regulations. So, and those regulations lead into others. And by the time you're done looking at these, you've gone 1,500 pages in and still don't understand which way's up. Not only that, it leaves it up to interpretation for the member states, the countries, to interpret how they read it and how they want to enforce it. So not every country, not every state of that country is going to actually enforce it the same way. So it makes it more difficult to comply with.
It'd be worse in places, yeah.
And now what's going on, and I was just at the World Conference for Tattoo and Pigment Research in Vienna, and what we learned there is there's a health crisis emerging. And that health crisis is now coming from these newly developed pigments that meet the REACH restrictions. And these are made up of things that we haven't ever tried in tattooing, but yet in order to reach compliance, these companies are putting them out there. And we're seeing now, especially in Germany, the German government's starting to recall a bunch of these pigments because of the adverse events. And these are happening very rapid, and they're due strictly to the pigment or the ingredients thereof.
Wow. So essentially, these new regulations have created products that are dangerous.
I think so, yeah. And we warned them as industry experts. There's quite a few of us that warned them that there is no health crisis. And if we don't do this correctly, we will start a health crisis. We also told them we're not running from regulation. We just want it to be reasonable, based on empirical science, and be specific for our industry. Yet it seems that we're constantly being grouped in with other cosmetics or hair dyes and colors and things like that.
And yeah, I mean, that seems to be our because again, I'm not going to blame the tattoo industry, but because of a lack of unification in the history of our industry, we haven't had good representation, so we tend to get lumped in and grouped with others, right? And because there is a nature of cosmetic too. I mean, we are a cosmetic craft to a degree, so to speak. It's a unique craft, it's unique cosmetic, but because we've been grouped in there, we're being classified improperly.
Correct.
It's causing some issues. But we do have some opportunities, right? You know, and although CTS may not be active or participating much anymore, I mean, we do have the Alliance of Professional Tattooists.
Absolutely.
And you're a member and also a big advocate for as well, yeah?
Yeah, and thanks to you and some other members, it's starting to rejuvenate and kind of like a phoenix coming out of the flames, which is awesome to see. And you're right. the industry, we're not to blame for this. We are a victim of our own success.
Yeah.
And if we're going to have so much success, then it's time to put it on our big boy pants and deal with the outcomes of that, right? And this is part of the outcome. I don't think we're at fault, but it's definitely part of the outcome.
Yeah.
If we can figure out a way to unify and regulate ourselves, we're not going to have a lot of these challenges. Or these challenges aren't going to feel as massive as they feel now, right, to most of us.
We'll be more prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that. I mean, there's this misconception that when, like, we or you speak to government that you're now cooperating to make it easier for the government, but really you're just up to bat for the industry, for tattooing, right? And to protect tattooing and to bring tattooing's needs and wants to the forefront of their mind. And there is this misconception that by talking to them, you're helping them, when really we're helping ourselves. You know, and I think it's important to recognize the importance and need for self-regulation again. You know, because it grew. You know, you're right. We're the victim of our own success, because self-regulation was so much more manageable when a tattoo artist could make their own pigment, machines, needles, and had their own clientele base, and they kept their secrets tight. But now it's so spread apart. I know on one hand how many tattoo artists can do that, you know, and it's just the nature of evolution is that we have to adapt our way of regulation, of self-regulation. And you know, having people like yourself who can understand that complex relationship of laws and regulations, because it's, I mean, they're 1,000-page bills, right? Where there's some cryptic message in it that you have to decipher, and then you gotta know who to talk to and what exactly to say to them, you know, and then who is saying something but they're really meaning something else, right? You know, like it's definitely it's a craft that, you know, you're learning to get really good at. So I mean, I'm very grateful that you're there for us.
I appreciate that.
And with everything moving forward, is there any, of course we want to grow the APT, obviously been a big advocate for it. I mean, is there any other things on the forefront, cool events, cool, I don't know, anything in the near future that you'd like to talk about or excited about? Or?
Not really in the near future. I can say that we have strength in numbers, right? So APT, they've been around a long time, 30 plus years, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 92.
That should be our platform right now as practitioners and artists. And that's where we should come together and have that strength in numbers. My last talk with congressional leaders up on the Hill, they all asked for metrics around their states and their districts. You know, how many tattooers do I have in my district? How many tattoo shops do I have in my state? If we could figure out ways to get those metrics to them and help with our case, that would be great. You know, if we could figure out a way to bring everyone together and start having those conversations. And you're right, we're not there to help the government out. We're there to serve the industry, right? And kind of be that, lack of better words, that shield between the industry and the regulators. There's information that you give to prove a point. And I think those metrics will prove the point in strength in numbers. We're constituents of theirs. We're of age to vote, right? Most of us do vote, and that means a lot to them. Also, our expression and knowing that, you know, the socioeconomic side of our industry and what bad regulations and law could do on the socioeconomic side is super powerful. So if we can understand that better as an industry, I think we'll move it along.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great to hear that, you know, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, from your experience. That, I mean, that's truly what makes a difference. Is there a constituent base, right? That a lawmaker can look to and say, okay, I hear their concerns and they have numbers, right? And you know, I think you're right, that should be the most important avenue right now for us as an industry is to
Right.
start coming together, and the alliance isn't just like just come together and everyone's gonna go to war, because we have warriors like yourself that are willing to step up and do the tasks that most don't want to do, and relay information to others to be able to share this and disseminate it. But we're also building a community that and there's benefits to it, like not just about what do you get out of it, but coming together and learning together, being able to know that we're a part of something that's safeguarding our legacies,
Right.
I think as fathers, we want to know that we're passing something on to not just our kids, but to, the kids in the industry,
Absolutely,
so to speak.
yeah.
So, like I started off, Sean, I'm, the more I've gotten to know you and what you've done and what you're doing, I'm honored to be able to serve alongside you, from our respective places, with you as a tattoo artist, both in the manufacturing realm, and then being a tattoo artist and working on the trade realm, I see an allegiance, a unified effort, and I hope that more people from this and in the future be able to see your efforts. And I know you're not one looking for any sort of validation, but one day, people really appreciate what you've done in the industry as a whole. So.
I appreciate that. And, doing things like that, it's what can you give back to your industry? The industry's given all of us quite a bit.
Everything.
And we need to ensure that it's safely enjoyed for generations.
Yeah.
Like, last thing I want to do is see this go away
100%.
in any form from what it is now. Right? We need to keep evolving and keeping up with it. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to conquering this with you as well. So thank you.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it. Oh, Knuckles, huh?
We'll edit.
Knuckles.